Welcome to this Excel video. It's really just a walkthrough of a project that I made several years ago that a couple of people recently have asked me about. So it's about an athlete and trying to walk them through the process of achieving a goal through setting individual targets and strategies to achieve them. Before we get started, there's a couple of tricks I just want to run through on a new sheet which will be important for your deconstruction and rebuilding of this file for your own purposes. So if we just go to a blank sheet here, the trick I want to take you through is just data validation. I've covered it in lots of previous videos, but it's always good to revisit that if it's not something you are familiar with. So if I wanted to create a drop down box here that had the days of the week in it, this is how I would do it. Put a little heading, and now in cell E3 I would click on the data tab, choose data validation and then data validation again, and you get this little wizard appear that guides you through the process. At the moment it allows any value, and you can change that to a whole raft of options, and the one that we want to choose is called list. It asks us to identify where the list is. Because it's on the same sheet that we're working on, it's quite easy. I can simply click inside the source box here, surround the items that I want to appear in the list, and click OK. And now, as simple as that, we've got Monday or whatever day you want to have, and it's only from the list. What I tend to do is to try and hide these things away, put them on another sheet, and keep all of my configuration lists there. To do that, I would select the cells and then go into the name box, which is just this little area above the column headings for A, B and C on my window, and I'd give this a name. Now I'm just going to call this list DOW for days of week. I'll do a second example, so I'll just do this name at the same time. List names. I tend to always use the prefix list. That's just a personal preference. You don't have to do that yourself. And so now, regardless of where I am in the workbook, I can reference those two named ranges in a data validation list. So let's do that second one. If I click in here and I want a PC, I can press the F3 key and I'll pull up the names that I've created. The two that I created a few minutes ago are here, so we've got list names. I could have also typed that in, and that's the process you'd do if you're on a Mac. So now we can do so just by selecting. Now if I choose another sheet here, I can follow that same process by typing or hitting the F3 key. So I prefer to do it with named ranges rather than referencing cells. The other type of data validation that the upcoming file covers is dates, and so if I click data validation, one of the options is date, and it gives me a range, so I can say 1st of the 1st 2018, 31st of the 12th 2020, and it forces the dates to be within that range. I'm going to leave that file now, and I'm just going to go across to the file that I wanted to show you, which is called an IPP model. In my environment, an IPP is called an individual performance plan, and you need to have a whole lot of information at your fingertips to be able to work through this. This is an extreme example where an athlete has a whole support team around them. It's the type of environment that national sports institutes have, such as the AIS and the High Performance Sport New Zealand environment and so on, where you might have a whole raft of people from nutritionists to planners to doctors and physios all surrounding the athlete and supporting the coach or the coaches to deliver performance. So to have a list of those people and their email addresses and phone numbers is quite a nice way to have this file be your go-to place. and there's no reason why you can't add other files to this, such as sheets with data from training sessions or matches and strength programs and things like that, if you wanted to have it all be in one place. Starting point really is to go across and say what is the athlete's goals, what are their overall outcomes, and I've picked a couple of lofty ones there, which is Olympic Games and a World Cup. I've put dates on it, and there's just a formula there that is really just finding today's date. We are April 2019 today, and it's telling us that there's 469 days to go. And inside those targets, there's some specific goals, which is around a component of performance to break down into pieces and start working on. It's no good just aiming for an Olympic medal and not having specific information and plans around how you're going to achieve that. So I've just chosen two here: the ability to cope with pressure and to do a faster turn from one stroke to the next in the medley. Next stage is to say, well, to achieve those goals, we need to break them into strategies, assign those strategies to someone so that it can be delivered. I've completed two where I've listed what the goal is, what support discipline is going to achieve that, and what the details of the strategy is, brief details. And you might complete this. Typically, athletes that I'm aware of that I work with or have worked with over the years might have 4 or 5 strategies at one time. 2 or 3 will be relating to their sport, in this case swimming, and 1, 2 or 3 will be related to some support areas such as psychology or strength and conditioning. So you never really get much progress when you have a dozen strategies all on the go at once. And as we step through these different tabs, this is where the rubber meets the road. You want to assign a strategy to a provider or a person, a support person, and they will detail how they're going to achieve that strategy. What is their action plan? What measures are they going to be evaluated on in the short and long term? And when they get to the end of the strategy, either because time's run out or they've changed their mind on something, sometimes you have a bad performance and you go back to the drawing board, you want to write some kind of outcome summary. Did we achieve the outcome that we were looking for? What were some critical factors that allowed us to achieve it or that stopped us from achieving it? That information is gold when you are amalgamating it with other strategies, other athletes and other staff members, because often what you'll find is similar reasons for success and similar reasons for failure of athletes to meet the outcome that they were seeking. And so here we are, there's just an opportunity to write more detail. Because on the strategies page there was a bunch of blank cells, we could fill one in here. This was our psychology strategy, and I'm just going to write some detail in here. Just going to write a quick little strategy name and put a date on it. Let's say that we are going to achieve that in about 6 weeks' time for a relatively minor competition where we can test things out. Now when I go across to the strategy details, we'll see those things have pulled through. So we've got the details at the top, who's responsible, the target dates and things like that. Now the staff member can go through and write in their action plan. What are they going to do? Daily sessions with the athlete, weekly sessions with the athlete, implement a particular tool set or technique, and how they're going to evaluate themselves and so on. So you're filling in all that detail, and when you are reviewing how an athlete is performing, the rest of the support team can hold this person accountable to at least to have followed the process and to have sought out those measures and targets. To provide a little bit more info here, I've put together a small example where a strategy has been written out completely and that there's some information to support the development of that strategy. I've done it on a smaller scale than the rest of the file. There's only 4 members of the support team. I've put in fake email addresses and phone numbers and some information there across on the right hand side that helps you understand where the strategy fits into the bigger position. And I talked about this in the little demo before we started, where you need to have lists created where you can put in names, you can put in types or activities that might be able to be used in data validation lists throughout your projects. So as you may have seen through the projects, we've got drop-down lists of people's names. We've got data validated fields. If I click on the data tab, need to unprotect this. If we click on the data tab, we can see that I've just put a date range in there, that pretty big one, a 10-year date range, and it allows things to be a little bit tighter. And you'll notice that I did put protection on this because oftentimes people will break these files if they haven't really got a good feel for how they work. So all I really did was just click the protect tab, didn't put a password in, but it's a barrier that stops people going in and making too many mistakes. Best thing you can do is grab a copy of this file and feel free to email me at this address for a copy, and to start considering how you might build something like this for your own circumstances. Thanks for watching. Drop me a line if you want to, and I'll send you the file through. Thanks.